Welcome home. I'm Tamyra Alicia, your host, and this is Soul Drops, a podcast dedicated to the expansion of the heart, mind, and soul, a safe place for reflection, healing, and self-understanding. Take a deep breath with me, and let's begin. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Soul Drops. I am your host, Tamyra Alicia, and today we're diving into something that has been kind of heavy on my mind. And this goes out to all of those people who are walking the path of healing and awakening. And the topic is about letting go of the need to save someone and not hijacking their healing journey, because we cannot force people to heal until they want to. It is a solo dolo journey. They can have cheerleaders in the stands, but it is their journey to take. So have you ever found yourself wanting someone to change, to grow in a certain area of their life, to heal? And it's not just for them, but if you're honest, it's for you too. And these types of relationships, they can literally be with anyone, right? Maybe it's a parent that you keep hoping will finally see who you actually are and finally get it. Maybe it's a friend that you shared a million memories with, that you've been best friends with since you were in diapers, but they're stuck in these old patterns and you're starting to grow in separate directions and you're starting to feel the distance and the friction and kind of like the emptiness. Or maybe it's someone that you are in a romantic relationship with. Now, it hurts because you see all the potential that this person has. And you see that the person ignoring the aspects themselves that they need to heal, and it's stopping them from reaching the point at which you know it could improve their life and ultimately improve your relationship. And you think, well, if this person would just face this trauma, face their wounds, open their heart, and kind of like start this path to healing, then everything would be great. And if you've said or had any of these thoughts, if that's you, if you ever felt the weight of trying to bring someone with you on your journey, I have definitely felt that weight. And you want to know, well, why can't I do this? Like, why can't I just bring them along? You are not alone in those feelings. But also, as I stated before, we cannot force someone to heal. No matter how much we love them, no matter how clear the vision is that we have in our head of how our relationship could be if they healed and dealt with this trauma, no matter how ready we feel they are, it is not up to us to make that decision. When we are growing up, we're often told that love is about sacrifice, and that if you really care about someone, like, you'll wait it out, you'll help, you'll hold this person down, you'll hold endless space for them. But honestly, as you go through this journey, you really start to understand that healing is a solo person sport. No one is going to help you better than you can help yourself on this journey. It is great to have a support system around you that you can reach out to if you need it, which we all do need community, but there is a part of healing, especially when you get deep in that, when you're in the trenches, you need to be by yourself. You need to connect with yourself on a level that you didn't even know was possible. And that is a sacred and very, very sovereign type of experience. And it must be chosen by that individual. You cannot talk someone into healing. That's the same if you think about someone that wants to go to therapy, or has been told rather that, oh, if you go to therapy, it'll just be great, and you can just heal this, and you could talk about this with your therapist. But the truth is that therapy will only work if you want it to work. If you go to your therapist's office with a closed mind and a closed heart, and you really could care less about what they have to say, and you don't plan on implementing any of the things that you've learned and in your actual daily practice in your daily life, you could have just stayed home. There was no point in going. And healing is the same way. If you don't show up for yourself and with an open heart and an open mind, it does not matter who you're doing it for. If you're the person that's trying to heal and you want to heal for someone else, or if you're the person that's trying to convince this person to do it, it doesn't work like that. It is a completely self-based experience. And when we want someone to heal so that maybe they can love us better, maybe they can stay in our lives, maybe they can stop hurting us, right? And this happens a lot in romantic relationships and also parental relationships too. We're not actually helping them heal. We're trying to mold them into what we need them to be. And that is not love. That is attachment dressed up in a peacemaker's clothing. And what I mean by that is, let's say that you are in a romantic relationship with someone and you can clearly see the indications that this person has severe childhood trauma, and you want them to be healed because you see all of the potential in them. You have a vision for your relationship with this person, but for whatever reason this person is resistant to this vision that they actually don't even know exists. And you're just like, but if you just deal with this trauma, if you just deal with this, if you just, stop doing this, if you recognize this trauma, if you call it out and you just start healing, then we could be the vision that I have inside of my head. And it's like, um, pump your brakes, because this isn't about you. And we have to step back from those types of intention, because those types of intentions are not only harmful to the person that we want to pretty much hijack their healing journey, but also it's not helpful for us, for the individual that wants this person to heal. Because as I said, healing is a self journey, and it has to be a decision made by that individual. And typically, how humans respond when someone doesn't do something that they think that they should do, they have an emotional response to that. And that typically means like we get angry or we get upset because this person is not moving in the direction or at the pace or when or where we want them to be at. And we have to understand that this is not about us. So let's take a look at family, because I find that this happens a lot in family as well. So maybe it's a mother that has never been emotionally available. It could be a father who avoids accountability, a sibling who won't go to therapy even though they know they need it, and you just keep showing up and you keep explaining to them over and over again, hoping that if you just say it the right way, if you use multiple examples, if you put yourself in the scenario, that they'll get it. And they'll finally like have this aha moment where they're like, oh my God, for years, this is what you were trying to say. I finally get it. I see the light. I'm ready to change. But we all know that that's not what happens. And the healing that we are asking them to do, to be honest, they may never be ready for this, even in this lifetime. They may never get to the point where they are ready to face that trauma. And I had to recognize this for myself with my own parents. And my mother and my father both have trauma. And because for whatever reason, they weren't able to deal with their own trauma, they passed that down through their actions or lack of actions. And for a long time, I was angry. And it didn't I didn't understand the anger, and the anger, I wasn't able to release it until I understood that, like, hey, my parents are just people, right? They are people who have been through their own set of trauma, their own set of problems, and maybe they didn't do what I think they should have done, but maybe they did what they could with the tools and the skills that they have. And that's not saying that they couldn't have done more, but again, that's only my projection of what I think they should have done. And so I have come to a point in my life where I don't hold any anger for them. I don't hold any resentment. But I also don't hold any hopes of having close bonds and close relationships because they are still the same people that raised me. They're still the same people. And I remember when I was in therapy, like religiously, and one of the things that I had to do was to go to my parents and tell them how they made me feel growing up. And I remember going to my mother and telling her how she made me feel invisible. And I told her about all of the times that she wasn't there and how I thought she couldn't and didn't love me. And she basically told me that I was making all of this stuff up and that all of the things that I had experienced and I had lived through never happened. And it made me question my own reality because I was like, hold on, maybe am I not remembering things right? So I went to my aunt and I talked to her about it. She was like, no, all of those things happen. And I was like, okay. And, just making sure my recollection is correct. And for a while after that, that made me even more mad at my mom that she was so, I don't even know, just defiant or resistant, I think is a better word, to what my experience was, because that means that she would have to take accountability and she would have to look inward at herself, that she just denied it. And it took me years to realize that her denying those things about me, about my experiences, was actually her just being afraid to deal with her trauma because the way that she actually treated me was a result of her trauma. And so if she addressed my trauma, that means she would also have to address hers. And she wasn't ready. And to this day, she still isn't ready. And that's okay. I respect that she may never be ready. And I cannot hold that space and that expectation for her. But what I can do is make sure that with my daughter, I don't continue that same habit and that I keep a open heart and an open mind that maybe someday she'll begin to heal for herself because she's ready. But other than that, I had to to take a complete back seat. Like I'm in the third row, y'all. Like I'm not even in the second row of the car or passenger side. I'm all the way at the back. I'm basically in the trunk. Um, and that was a hard lesson, but it was also a beautiful lesson because I talked to my mom, normally it's pretty general things like weather, food, movies, just very surface level topics because I have my boundaries. If you cannot um and well, if you are not ready yet to address certain things with me, then it kind of leaves us at this impasse where our relationship can't be as deep until we deal with those certain aspects. But I also respect the fact that I understand how hard it is dig back into that trauma and to have to relive some of it. And if she is not ready, if my father is not ready, then, you know, I just wish them the best, and I hope at some point they heal, but I can't save them. Now, we kind of talked about how it is with our family, but what about with our friends? What about friends that have been there from the cradle, like our diaper buddies, and realizing that your friends, your best friends, that they're stuck in these cycles and these patterns of behavior that feel like they create incredible distance between you two, and that you no longer resonate with them. And you are holding on for the sake of holding on, even though you can feel that the relationship is slipping away. That doesn't mean that you don't love them and that you don't want them to come along on this journey with you of wherever it is that you're going. But every conversation that you have with them maybe feels heavy or maybe feels like misaligned, like something is just off about it. You know, when you have like a best friend and you and your friend have like this unspoken bond, it's just like you have this flow with you and no words need to be spoken. Like literally it could just be an eye gesture and that says everything that it needs to say. But then for whatever reason that kind of changes. It's a very odd feeling because you were so in sync with this person and now you don't have that and you want to get it back. And sometimes when you have grown and one person has not grown at maybe the same rate or pace as you, which is completely normal, that growth can feel like you're leaving that person behind. And sometimes that can feel like betrayal, not only betrayal to you, but also betrayal to them. But really, it's an invitation. You're not abandoning them. You are choosing yourself. You're choosing to thrive. You're choosing to grow. And what is life without growth? And in doing so, you actually give them permission to rise if they choose to. We are living examples of what healing can do, of what being in alignment can do. It makes other people around us feel inspired and they feel like they want to change and they want to grow. And I've seen this in my own life. And it was when I stopped thinking that I could save people that it happened. I just noticed that, oh, me just being around this person and me just speaking positivity, not necessarily at them, right? Not like, oh, I'm preaching to you about this so that you can heal and that you can change, but just keeping it light, just keeping it positive, just having, just conversations with them and then just leaving it and letting that settle in however it needs to settle in. I noticed that actually that internal process that they go through after these conversations, it's just like, And I notice they'll come back. They'll ask me more questions. They'll ask me for my advice. And then they'll start to change a little bit. And they'll come back and they were like, "Oh, you were right about this." And then we'll have more conversations. And it's kind of like this beautiful baby step process where it's just like, "Oh, okay, I'm here if you need me. If you need me, tap me in. But otherwise, I'm gonna sit back here and drink my water and mind my business." Now, if we're honest about different type of loving relationships, like romantic relationships, when we meet someone, especially when that attraction, and I'm not just talking about like a physical attraction, like the chemistry, the potential is endless. Like we can see it, we have a vision for it. But when you start really getting in there and then the wounds start to surface, the trauma starts to surface, the fear starts to surface, the self-sabotaging behavior starts to surface, and you can see that inner child really crying out and not doing the work to be heard. They're just basically like, shut up, go back in there, and don't want to deal with it. And you want to stay so bad and you want to help them. And you genuinely see like who they could be. You see all of that potential. And maybe you think, oh man, if I just love them in the right way, that's all they need. They just need they just need to be loved hard. They just need to know that I am not going anywhere, no matter what they say, no matter what they do to sabotage our relationship. I am going to prove my love and I'm going to stay right here until they heal. But love doesn't heal people in terms of them wanting to heal themselves. Like that has to be the first thing. It's the same thing with like loving yourself. You cannot love another person, not genuinely, not fully, not robustly, unless you love yourself first. You are your own first love. And until we are able to do that, we can't really love another person. And it's the same exact thing when when it comes to healing. Their choice to heal is only going to heal them. It is not going to heal your relationship because let's say, for example, you are in a relationship with someone and you want them to heal and you keep pushing it and talking to them and telling them, oh, well, let's sign up for couples therapy and all of these things. And it's really not 100% about them healing. It's about them healing enough so that they can be with you. That's what it's about. And let's say that they're like, okay, you know what, you talked to me enough. Let's get into this thing. Let's go to the couple therapy. Let's do this thing. And then they actually start going into the process of actually healing. And then they determine that you ain't it, that you are not the one. And they couldn't see that until they healed. So great job. I mean, you definitely pointed them in the direction, but they put in the work and they did it themselves. And now the healed version of themselves is like, no, you're not for me. Um, After my healing journey, I decided that you ain't it. And your love for this person might be beautiful. It might feel divinely, connected, but it will never be a substitute for someone doing the work for themselves. It is a great thing to have, right? It is a great thing to know that you have someone that is in your corner that supports you, but the actual work and the desire to do the actual work must and has to be done by the person themselves. And the deeper truth is that the more you try to fix them, the more you actually abandon yourself in the process because you start lowering boundaries that you shouldn't. You start accepting behavior and treatment that you shouldn't because you're so fixated and so blind on trying to fix them so that they could maybe love you in a way that you can't love yourself, right? Or take care of you in a way that you can't take care of yourself, that you don't even see that you're causing destruction to yourself in the process. And it's a very hard thing to see at first. And I have been there, completely have been there, where I thought, oh, this man, he just needs someone to love him and I'll do that. I'll I'll take up the mantle on that. I'll just love him into oblivion until he feels the need to heal and then he'll realize it and then I'll be here. It never worked out that way. And the hard truth is that once we realize that It does not matter how much you love someone, they have to want to heal because they love themselves, and that everyone is on their own timeline, and that not everyone is meant to honestly even awaken in this life. And I know that's a hard thing for other people to hear that are on this spiritual path, that like, hey girl, not everybody is coming to the party. Not everyone is going to in this lifetime. And guess what? That's okay, because maybe that was not their purpose in coming here. And who are we to decide that everyone on planet Earth is supposed to be in a week? Last time I checked, no one told us that that we had that job description of telling people that that's what they needed to be. Not everyone is going to be ready to confront their shadows. Shadow work is ugly. It is very hard to turn that microscopic lens on yourself and then have to relive old things in order to figure out and connect the dots as to why the heck you feel this way or you behave this way because it's something happened when you were 6 or 16 or whatever the case is, and you 45, right? Like, no one wants to deal with that, but it is a part of the journey. And no one heals just because you want them to. Healing has to be a decision that is made by that individual. And if they never choose it, then they never choose it. It can't be something that is hijacked, as I said before, or coerced. It has to be a personal choice, and it has to be dedication, because healing is a choice. It is a choice that every day and you wake up and you decide that you are going to sit with uncomfortable emotions, you're going to have uncomfortable conversations, and you are going to allow the emotions to run through you and the way that they need to run through you without you feeling like you have to control every aspect of that, because surrendering is a big part of healing. And when we want someone to heal so that, for instance, they can love us better or stay in our lives or stop hurting us, we are not actually helping them at all. And it doesn't mean that we're failing them. It just means that we were never able to save them from the beginning, because they have to save themselves. And so what do we do? How can we help them? We can help them by just supporting them. We can grieve relationships that we can no longer be a part of. We can let go of these fantasies that we create in our own heads about a version of a person that they don't even know exists because we built it in our mind. We can return home to ourselves and see and examine what part of us needs to heal, because there is a part of us that needs to heal whenever we feel like we need to save someone else. Remember, everyone is just a mirror of ourselves. We are seeing what we need to heal in ourselves from this other person. And so when we think we need to heal something in this person, it's probably because we need to heal that in ourselves. So we need to heal someone to think, oh, okay, I'm going to heal this person so that they can love themselves better. We actually are saying to ourselves, oh, I want this person to love me in this way that I can't love myself. That sounds like we need to do some of the work. That sounds like we need to do some of the processing. That sounds like we need to make that return home to ourselves and sit with uncomfortable feelings about why that is. And we need to realize that we are not here to save anyone. We are here to save ourselves. We are here to heal and to evolve and to be supportive in community and loving and respectful of someone else's journey, and to trust that that person that we have in our life who are meant to walk beside us will meet us when it is their time, when they are ready in their own regard, whether that is in this life or the next. So in closing, I just want you all to think about that in your interaction. Think about that with your romantic partner. Think about that with your familial relationships. Think about that with your friends. Think about that if you feel like, oh, I have to tell my friend to do XYZ so that we could do this thing together. Think about why it's so important for you to have to do this thing together. It's because you feel like you can't do it alone? Because you feel like you're going to feel alone and that you need the company of someone else? Is it because you don't have the confidence or the belief within yourself to do those things on your own, and so you need someone beside you at all times in order to be able to do that thing, right? And that's not taking away from the fact that as human beings, we all need each other, but it's just a reflective moment to have to check in with yourself to see if the reason why you want this person to heal, to be able to walk with you alongside you on your journey is because you feel as though you can't walk on alongside yourself on your journey, right? Think about this in your romantic relationships when you feel as though your needs aren't being met. But instead of deciding to release this experience, you clutch onto it even harder because you're thinking about, oh, if I could just get this person to change this aspect about themselves, oh, then it'll be perfect. And then we can have this life that I've been picturing in my head that this person doesn't even know exists. Think about that when you want to have these relationships with family members and you can clearly tell that they are not ready for them. And you think, especially when it's our parents, and we think, oh, well, this is my mom and this is my dad or uncle, auntie, grandma, whatever the case is. And or big brother, and they're older than me, especially. So they have to be ready to heal, but age has nothing to do with healing because you could be an 80-year-old person and not be ready to heal. You could be on your deathbed as an old person that is dying of natural old age and not be ready to heal. So, just for perspective, healing doesn't have an age limit. There is no person that we could say, oh, you're 56 years old or you're 80 years old or 90 years old or whatever. You should be healed. You should be ready to be done with everything by now. And that's not the way that it works, even though sometimes we think, why is this 56-year-old acting like a 15-year-old? Because they didn't heal and they weren't ready to, and maybe they will not be ready to. But that is not our call to make. And I just want us to be cognizant of that and to hold space with boundaries and to check in with ourselves when we start feeling like we need to save someone. Because whatever we feel like we need to save in this person is probably a lack within ourselves. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope it resonated. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. Until next time, I am Tamyra Alicia, and this is Soul Drops. Thank you for tuning in.